Someone asked me recently, hey, what can I do to become a better trainer? Now, I love this question because I find that most of the time when a trainer has mastered their content, they stop developing their competency as a trainer. We mistakenly define the quality of our training by the familiarity with the content. But familiarity with the content doesn't necessarily mean you're a great trainer. The past 8 years, I've spent the majority of my time training trainers. And one of the principles I share with them on a consistent basis is this. If you want to be a great trainer, you have to be a great student of training. In fact, if you want to be great at anything, you need to be a great student of that thing. So today, I want to share with you 3 disciplines that you can practice that will help you continually get better and grow into a great trainer. Discipline number 1 is learn something new about the topic before you teach it. I never want to go into a training session stale. Several years ago, I was doing a full day, 8-hour session on leadership development. This is a topic I've taught hundreds of times and feel like I'm very, very proficient in it. And so I taught all day long. At the end of the training, I got my car and I was driving home and it hit me. Mac, you didn't say one thing today that you had never said before. And that bothered me because it was an indicator that I was no longer growing in my knowledge and awareness of this topic of leadership development. So here's what I did. I said, okay, I'm going to reset myself. Right now, I'm at this level of knowledge, a 401 level of knowledge. I'm going to take that. I'm going to begin to redefine 401 level as 101 level. I'm no longer at a 401 level, I'm at a 101 level. And that reset in my mind challenged me. And all of a sudden, I began to study harder around the topic of leadership development. I began to read books outside the normal books that I would read. I began to talk to people that I normally hadn't talked to. And I began to learn leadership development at a whole new level. And here's the thing, guys, whatever your topic is you're teaching, learn something new and fresh about that topic before you go into the session and teach it, regardless of your level of expertise. Here's what I've discovered. It's often the freshest thing that I'm learning that has the deepest impact on those that I'm training. Discipline number 2 is always teach from a place of curiosity. When you do that, you're constantly asking questions that are drawing out of the students what they already know. Here's what I've discovered. Every student in that room knows something that I don't know, and I want to learn from them. I'm not just asking questions that are in my training script just to ask questions. I want to ask questions because I'm curious. I'm curious about what they know, what they've experienced, where they've had success, where they've had failure. And so I want to lean into the session with curiosity and ask the students questions that will draw out of them what they're learning. So a lot of times, if you're in one of my training sessions, you're going to hear me asking questions like, hey, who do you know that does that well? What did you learn from them when they did that? And a lot of times when they answer, I'll go, oh my gosh, I've never thought about that. Or you gotta be kidding me, that's fascinating. And I'll find myself writing down because I'm learning something in the session. Now, when your students see you doing that, it causes them to learn at a whole different level. You see, you gotta engage yourself, not just as a trainer, but as a learner. And when you lead from a place of curiosity, the questions you're gonna ask are gonna be at a deep level, because they're questions that are challenging your thinking, not just their thinking. So that by doing this, by leading with curiosity, helps me grow in my knowledge and helps me grow as a trainer. Discipline number 3 is process through each exercise and each question in advance so you can be focused and flexible during the session. There's an old military quote that says, no battle plan survives the first contact with the enemy. Well, this very same thing is true of a training plan. No training plan ever survives first contact with the students. So what I want to do is I want to think through each session, process it through before I teach it. Each exercise, each question that I'm going to be asking, I want to think through What are their responses? What are they going to be thinking? What questions are they going to come up with? I'm going to think through my follow-up questions, and so that I can be fully prepared for whatever scenario comes my way. And so by processing this ahead of time, I can be familiar with where this might be going, and I can be prepared for anything, almost anything they throw my way or anything I'm going to face during that training session. So always think through and process through your session before you teach it. All right. So, hey, these are 3 disciplines that I think have helped me become a better trainer. And I would love to hear from you. What are some of the disciplines you practice as a trainer that help you get better in your training efforts? Hey, thanks again for joining me today. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you click the like button, share it with your team, and I'll see you in the next video.
David Shears here with Blue Shield Tactical Systems. Today we're going to talk about characteristics of a good FTO and the FTO program, the kind of the ins and outs of it. You know, if you've been doing it a long time, and sadly, you know, the ones that probably need it won't continue to watch the video. But the first thing we're going to talk about is knowledge. Knowledge of being an FTO. That means department procedures, penal code, ordinances, forms that are within the agency. There should be some type of testing that's going on to be an FTO. Sadly, sometimes what we see is officers have been a police officer for 2 years, and some of the veteran officers are not becoming FTOs and understanding that they're shaping that agency by being an FTO. So, number 2, patience. Guys, the FTO program is there for mistakes to be made. It's to mold them into the officer that they're going to be having a lot of exposure from different officers, different FTOs within your agency. And so you have to be patient and understand that they're going to make mistakes. That's what the program is for. So don't expect those individuals to come out of the academy and be police officers. Yeah, they've taken a state test, but they do not understand yet how to be a police officer. So that FTO program is for that. So they're going to make those mistakes. Be patient with them. Be kind. That's our next one. Be kind. You know, that's something we shouldn't even have to talk about. But the problem that we're seeing within a lot of programs is we have individuals there with egos that maybe they were mistreated within their own FTO program, and now they're carrying on that same abuse of those new officers that are coming within that department. Understand that your city has spent probably $100,000 or more on those individuals by the time they get out of the academy, going to the FTO programs. It is not your job as an FTO to get rid of those individuals. It is your job to encourage them. It is your job to train them. But unfortunately, we have some of the mindset sometimes within FTO programs that say, hey, my job is to weed them out. And I've heard everything from, I don't care, they're kind of weird, you know, I don't like them. It doesn't matter if you don't like them. Your job is to train them. So understand being kind. Something our mamas should have taught us, right? Just to be kind to each other. But we're not seeing that in some of the training programs. And if you have a progressive program that's out there that's doing some of the things that I'm talking about, good for you. But if you as an individual find yourself cursing at your recruit, yelling at them, I can correct the problem without having to yell at a recruit officer. There's no reason for me to have to yell at them, unless it's an emergency situation where I'm yelling at them to, hey, get over here because it's dangerous for them. But if I'm correcting them, I want their input. Why did they do something? I'm not going to tell them, hey, you did this wrong, you did this wrong, you did that wrong. I'm going to say, this is what you did, why did you do it? So now they're giving me some input because the reason they did it may be totally valid. Or they may say, I don't know, I didn't know how to do it. So being kind to them, not separating them. You know, I've seen programs where they even had them to stand at the back of the room, a new officer, and not sit down until the other officer sat down. That's a real welcoming environment for our new officers who are coming with our agencies, isn't it? Should we be separating them that way? I say we shouldn't. You can agree or disagree and not watch the video, and that's fine. Or leave a comment. Be encouraging, that's the next one. Be encouraging of those officers. More praise of them. When they do something well, encourage them. Say, hey, I am here to help you. That is my job. I'm not here to get rid of you. The city spent a lot of money on you. It doesn't matter whether or not you like me or I like you. It's my job is to get you where you need to be a police officer. And if we start going into that with that mindset, we're going to be much more successful. Because I've heard now they say, well, the generation that we're dealing with now, that's the reason why we're not getting good candidates. If you're having a high turnover rate within your FTO program, you need to start looking at your FTOs. You need to start looking at your FTO program, how it's structured. Unfortunately, there are a lot of programs out there that teach you the forms of being an FTO. What should you write down? Those type of things. But they don't teach you how to interact with your recruit, how you should structure your behavior. And sometimes what we're having is those officers out there with egos that are just being downright abusive to those recruits, and we wonder why they fall out or they don't improve. It's because that environment is not structured for them to improve. So we really have to start looking at that as well. FTO is not on hiring boards. I think that this is something we should start looking at as well, because you have FTOs who already have a presumptive mindset toward this individual because they were on the hiring board. And they say, well, I didn't want to hire him. And so they go into that sometimes with a bias towards that person that they didn't think should be hired. I think that there should not be FTOs or anyone to do with the actual training or the training of that individual that's going to be on that board. And for that reason. And you can say, well, it helps us to know whether or not they're going to be a good police officer. I think there's officers in your agency that can do that. It doesn't have to be FTOs every time. Or what happens is quite the opposite. We have one that is very supportive of that individual during the hiring board. And they say, well, I thought they were great. And the other one said, well, no, I didn't think they were great. So that FTO may do everything they can to show them that they were right. So guys, I hope you've taken a little bit from this short video. Again, be knowledgeable of your procedures. Be patient with those individuals. Again, be kind. There's no reason to be mean to them. There's no reason to separate them from the group. Welcome them to the agency. Understand we're supposed to be a brotherhood. We are supposed to be nice to each other, but sometimes we find out that that's not the case. Be encouraging of those individuals. I teach instructors on a regular basis, and I tell them, praise much more than you critique. Because trust me, those recruits are critiquing themselves much more than you are, and you'll find that out. Again, the millennials, the new generation, guys, our parents had problems with us as well and thought that our generation wasn't going to be as good as theirs. So understand, it's not a generational thing really. FTOs on the board. Again, make sure that I think it's something to start looking at, start to consider. Guys, I appreciate you taking time to watch our videos. Log on to blueshieldtactical.com to see our upcoming courses. We have our de-escalation courses and, of course, all of our defensive tactics courses. Thanks. Have a great week.
Gordon Graham here with today's tip from Lexipol. And today's tip deals with law enforcement personnel getting in trouble. If you've been to any of my live programs, I'm sure you've heard me say there are no new ways to get in trouble. Refineries have figured out no new ways to blow up. Ships have figured out no new ways to sink. Airplanes have figured out no new ways to crash. Firefighters have figured out no new ways to die. And cops have figured out no new ways to get in trouble. One of the first websites I visit every morning is policemisconduct.net. Take a look at it. It's a list of cops who are in trouble. This whole theme was driven home recently when I was reading a book, and I came across this description of a Metro DC police officer. Here's a quote for you from the book. Throughout his employment, the officer's one distinguishing trait has been the ability to manufacture controversy. He has been disciplined for, among other things, swearing at a grocer, swearing at a supervising officer, insulting a woman who had requested police protection, and being drunk and disorderly in a house of prostitution. He appeared before the police board for sleeping on duty. 90 days after that, another police board, this time for using profane language to a private citizen. Now, don't think I'm picking on DC Metro here. While this may seem like a recent media report about a problem officer, it's actually a quote from Martin Dugard and Bill O'Reilly's great book, Killing Lincoln, about the Metro DC officer who was assigned to protect President Lincoln at Ford's Theater that fateful night. As I've often said, there are no new ways to get in trouble. Substitute in strip club for house of prostitution, and I'm sure we can think of officers, deputies, troopers who have gotten in a lot of trouble for the exact same things. Excessive drinking, sleeping on the job, foul language, insubordination, rude conduct toward members of the opposite sex. There truly are no new ways to get in trouble. Avoid these issues and please stay out of trouble. It's our profession. Protect it. And that is today's tip from Lexipol. Gordon Graham signing off.